You gotta love fantasy trades, right? Sup, y'all? It's your boy Leo Bias coming back with another CK podcast today in this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Shout out to my boy Mike Bibby and E-Man. Happy birthday. Mike Bibby, one of my favorite players of all time. I would say he's probably my favorite player of all time, now that I think about it. And then my brother from another mother, Iman Basulto, happy birthday. The big 24, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, Black Mamba. We're going to go over fantasy trades today, something that Bleach Report has been doing lately. And you know what? I have highly disagreed with a lot of their stuff. So we'll get into that. And then a little bit of what's going on right now during this pandemic, what the NBA may look like in a few weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. We may have our answer of whether or not the NBA will return. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to hit that like button, that subscribe, share it with all your NBA fans. Yeah, y'all might be looking at me like, man, what the hell is wrong with his hair? I don't know, man. I'm going through a phase where you might see me with this type of hair, with my old type of hair in one video, and then the other, and then I'm gonna have a completely different type of hair. I am curly. I'm gonna have it curly to the side, down. I don't know, man. It's getting tough out here. This stay in shelter home type thing, man. It's not for me, and hopefully all this ends very, very soon. Shout out to all the local businesses as well, especially Valley Tire Center, who has really helped us out during these months of downtime. In a sense, they're having oil changes for $29.99 right now. Help support your local repair shops, please, please. It really, really helps out a lot of people who are employed by Valley Tire Center, and support all your local businesses, restaurants, um, local shops, everybody in the retail business would really appreciate that, man. And again, make sure to subscribe on iTunes and drop a review. So let's get down to it, man. First news yesterday, a lot of NBA superstars got together. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, etc. Kevin Durant. And what came out of this was that the NBA may return because these players want the NBA to return. And when y'all know how it is, this is a players' league, and if they want to return and they have the okay, then Adam Silver is going to look at his owners and he's going to pretty much present it to them and say, you know what, we should do this or we should not do this. But right now, the players, most of the players I would say are in favor. Players that I've spoken to really want to get this thing started already. And yeah, it may take 3 or 4 weeks for them to get back into some type of rhythm from a basketball perspective, but I don't see why not. And I know a lot of you guys on social media have told me we should just end the season and just look forward to next season. I don't agree, and this is why. Because although many of you may say, well, Leo, there will be an asterisk next to whoever the hypothetical NBA champion is for the season. And my response is, and will continue to be, that asterisk will say, you know what? This is the toughest NBA championship ever won under these insane circumstances that no one's ever dealt with. And whoever is crowned NBA champion will deserve it, especially if there's no fans. Can you imagine all the role players who really step up in big moments because they feed off of fans? Now you have to communicate, talk to each other, and really the most prepared and the best players will really win. Okay? And I get it, the fans are a huge part of our game, but it's going to be so much tougher, which requires so much more mental fortitude. And I just feel like whoever is crowned is going to really earn it. That means you have to beat a team 4 times in an AAU type setting where there aren't many fans. I don't know if you guys remember those days where when I was a lot younger, I would play AAU when I was traveling to Reno, to Roseville, to the Vegas tournaments. And in the mornings, the first set of games wouldn't get any fans. You might get your mom that would take you, but for the most part, it was empty. So that's the type of feeling that these players are gonna have to deal with. That's just reality, right? Um, yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal, honestly. But the question remains: how many positive tests would be too many? There will be people who will test positive, and when it gets to that point, I believe that you have to continue to take the precautions that you've been taking. So just like the UFC did this past weekend, the people outside of the octagon, they had masks on, they had their gloves on, and it's just being respectful of those rules. That way we can not spread this virus. And I get it. You may not even protect yourself from the virus, even if you have a mask or gloves, because you can get infected in different ways, right? I completely understand that, but it's gone to the point where we really need sports in this country, and I'm all for it, man. Yesterday, again, the news of the NBA executives and the commissioner on this call being very positive, I like it. I'm in favor. Also, Florida governor says that that state will open to pro sports. So again, it's their push of saying, well, if y'all do come back, then you guys can host games here. That means Orlando, where they play their summer league, or even Disneyland. There have been a lot of rumors there. Nevada, if they open up anytime soon as well. Las Vegas is a good location. Arizona is close to opening, I believe. Golden One Center is now open for voluntary workouts. I know some of the Kings players that are here, like Nemanja, Bagley, Bogdan. Let me see. Yogi's in Phoenix. Buddy's in Dallas. Uh, Fox may have gone here already, back from Texas. Not too sure on that one. Don't quote me on that one. But I just feel like with the facilities being open, that it's a green light for these guys to start getting into it again, to getting the rhythm down and practicing with these awesome coaches that they do have at their disposal with these facilities, right? Multi-million-dollar facilities where they can expand their strength and just continue to get better, just overall. A lot of players have said that they want to crown the champion, and a lot of them agree that whoever is crowned, just like my opinion, they're gonna earn it. The NCAA extends a deadline to pull out of the NBA draft. That makes complete sense. A lot of these guys who have declared and said that they have agents, well, they can pull out. It makes sense because with the NCAA, in a sense, losing some of their top guys that would have went to college to the G League, they're trying to, still give that cushion to these players that once they start doing these Zoom calls with these NBA teams, and if they don't get the right feedback, then they can say, you know what, I'm not going to risk it. I'm going back to college. Why not? So the logical move by the NCAA, in my opinion, the logical move, it wasn't very hard. It's kind of like your taxes. April 15th is deadline, but you're gonna extend it because of everything that's been happening. Although when it comes to logic, and again, and I know I've harped on this a lot, but the fact that a lot of these banks are continuing to say, well, you know what, I want a balloon payment on the fourth month, and we're gonna put your mortgages on pause for 3 months, but on the fourth, when you're not working, we want that money. And it's like, come on, man, you you really are asking for a huge balloon payment? What makes you think that I can make this payment when I haven't been working? Is what I would be saying if I was a homeowner. So a lot of the times, politicians and government officials don't use logic, and this is one of the times where they don't. But the NCAA extending their deadline to pull out of the NBA draft is definitely a logical move. So, bravo, bravo. I also want to announce that I'm gonna have Rayshawn Hammonds from the Georgia Bulldogs, who played with the presumptuous number one pick in Anthony Edwards. I'll have him break some film down with him, talk to him, get to know him a little bit better, ask him what the draft process will be like this year. What does he expect? He had 3 solid seasons at Georgia. He was playing out of position this past season, where he was their biggest guy at 6'9", playing center most of the time in a very spread out offense. Going to be interesting to see, because when he first started out, I literally just watched a full game today from his freshman year against Tennessee. Tennessee ended up beating them on the last possession to clinch their SEC title, and Georgia just, they should have won the game, but that's where he was playing small forward. That's where they brought him in. But I feel like Rayshawn is a power forward, a guy who can stretch the floor. He's a left-hand sniper. He can hit that three-point shot. Shot 35% from three, and on 3.2 attempts per game. We'll see what he can do at the next level. I have him going in the second round. Both the Warriors, the Kings could look at him. The Spurs could look at him. The Hawks could look at him. Just some teams that may be interested in the services because of what he can do right now. He's mature, and I feel like he can contribute right away off the bench. So we'll get into that, and I'll announce when we will do it. I believe I'm doing it tomorrow, but things always can change. So stay tuned for that. Now let's get into fantasy trades. And Bleach Report did this thing where I haven't seen who the author was, the publisher was, but I've been disappointed. I wasn't as disappointed on the first one, but on the second one, where it has the Rockets and the Kings in a completed trade, where the Rockets received Marvin Bagley and Imani Bielitsa, and the Kings received PJ Tucker, Daniel House, and an unprotected 2022 first round pick. I mean, come on. That's just embarrassing. How can you publish something like that? You're giving up a number 2 pick. Just that alone, a number 2 pick who hasn't even played that much, for a role player, and essentially a pick that won't be any good, because if they stay good, then it's going to be a high pick. That makes absolutely zero sense. So very disappointing from Bleach Report. Again, it's all clickbait. I get it, but have some ethics, man. Just have some ethics on that end. I don't like that, and hopefully they can change and stop publishing garbage remarks. Sounds a lot like the Skip Bayless, where he would say something outlandish just to get people going, and if that's what they wanted, sure, they got it, but at the expense of people really talking shit to them, in the sense that, man, y'all losing credibility when you put out stuff like that, because that is not okay. That is not okay. So let's scratch that. That's not happening. Although if they just said Bielitsa for PJ Tucker, Daniel House, and a protective first, then I wouldn't be mad at that either, because that would make sense for the Rockets. They get a stretch big who can play alongside James Harden and Russell Westbrook. The Kings get a much-needed defender. Both very good defenders, I would say. Both role players. And, you get your first. They may say, well, I'm not giving you a first for Bielitsa. PJ Tucker, Daniel House from Bielitsa. That could make sense as well. So that would have been a lot better. But the insult of adding the Marvin Bagley to that is like, wow. Okay. So let's get to the big trade, right? That had a lot of people agreeing to it, which is, to me, crazy. And I'm going to break it down. The 76ers would receive Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, and Corey Joseph. The Kings would receive Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson, Zaire Smith, a 2022 top 8 protected first, and a $1.8 million trade player exception. Now, someone will say, well, that looks like a pretty good deal to me. And I'm like, well, how much better is Tobias Harris than Harrison Barnes? In all seriousness, when you break down their games, He is a better scorer because he takes more shots. If you want to say he's a better scorer, sure, I'll give you that. Who's a better all-around NBA player where you can just plug him in any offense and any defense, and he's going to be solid and steady? That's Harrison Barnes, and he's not going to cost you $35 to $40 million a year. So if you want to come at me and say that that is a great trade, you are out of your mind. Tobias Harris, as much as I like him, and trust me, I like him, my man's is not worth $35 to $40 million. That is just ridiculous. So stop it. Harrison Barnes, you can literally plug in every single team in the NBA. Tobias Harris, the way y'all describe him is he is a borderline all-star, but you would have to change how you play in a sense. He's not a plug-and-play type player. And if he's not that, then why would I pay $35 to $40 million a season for a player? Anyways, he's not better than Buddy Hield in any way, shape, or form. Buddy Hield's a much better scorer, a great shooter, a guy who works well with what you have in De'Aaron Fox already. Makes everybody better just by spreading out the floor. Defensively, yes, he's awful. I get it. That's not the argument. Thing is, and I love Josh Richardson. I love Josh Richardson. But I don't want Zaire Smith in this trade. I would demand Matthias Thybulle. And if you want to take away that pick, you can, because that pick's going to be a high pick anyway. I don't care for a late 20s pick. That's essentially a second round pick. So take away Zaire Smith, who I liked coming out. Take away that pick. And even that player in even that TPE, take that out and you add Thybulle in it. Then I would consider it. But until then, this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. A lot of fans react on emotion. This has nothing to do with me being friends with Buddy Hield. If you add Thybulle to that trade, I would say yes to the trade. And the way it's formatted now, the way they propose it now, it's a hard no for me, man. There's just no way I'm going to allow Harrison Barnes and Buddy Hield go to a team that really needs those type of players, that really need a Buddy Hield to help out their spacing issues. Ben Simmons he would have a field day. Joel Embiid off the double team would have a field day. Stay home every time. You have to. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. And you know what? Take that back. Even then, I would take that protected first pick with Thybulle. I just don't see that much value in Zaire Smith right now. We're not talking potential. The Kings can't base things off potential anymore. They have to win now. They're not in that position no more to keep waiting and telling their fan base, screw you guys. No, they need to win now. Josh Richardson is a very good player. Very good player. I like him a lot. But I would need a Thybulle. I would need that Thybulle kid to be included in this trade as opposed to Zaire Smith. Because the Kings don't need Zaire Smith if they get Josh Richardson. The Kings would need a wing like a Thybulle who can defend at a very, very high rate. And although he's a very bad shooter, hopefully he works on that and he gets better throughout his career. But that is the only way I would pull that trade from the Kings' perspective. Now, from the Sixers, I'm pushing the trade that this dude, and I still don't know who proposed these trades, right? But if I'm the Sixers, I'd take that in a heartbeat. Duh. I mean, you get a nice third string backup in Kojo who can defend, who can be a backup for you, and then you get two very good basketball players in Buddy Hield and Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes, championship pedigree. Buddy Hield, third best shooter in the world behind Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Makes sense. Makes complete sense to me. Let me know what you guys think. That is my thought process. And again, I really like Tobias Harris, but his contract is just god awful. Hey, let's just call it the way it is. It's awful. He's not a good defender. He's a good scorer, but then honestly, he is a 4. And that means bye-bye Marvin Bagley. There is no way, and again, it just depends. Do you see him as a 4 or 5? To me, Marvin Bagley 5. So my eyes, it would have worked, right? But then for all the people that are opposed to it and tell me that he's a 4, well, what are you trying to say? Like, you're certainly not going to bring Tobias off the bench. I mean, Tobias doesn't have the foot speed to stay in front of threes anymore. I'm just saying. I mean, he's just not. First and foremost, Tobias is not a good defender. But then when you start talking about and breaking down this game and saying, well, can you defend threes? No, you can't. And again, Josh Richardson, I love his versatility. Love it. Very good defender. Can hit the open shot. He's a good handler. I would love him off the bench. He'd solidify that bench for sure. But is it enough? And the way it was proposed originally, I would say no, hard no. But if you add Thibault to that and you swap it with Zaire Smith, I would say yes to that trade. If you guys have any other trades that make sense from a salary cap and it would benefit both teams, let me know, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this short podcast and stay tuned for a lot of draft coverage. I'm excited to break down Hammonds, who I'm going to have on the show possibly tomorrow. There are guys in the draft who I really like. I really like Devin Vassell. You guys know that I really like Anthony Edwards, although I am having questions about just that dog mindset, if he has it or not. There were so many times where he just didn't want to be there, and that is scary. And as a future head coach, that would piss me off. There were so many times where he wouldn't even try on defense. He just let a dude go by him, and that would put Hammonds, who was playing out of position as it is, in a tough situation. So watching him and watching the full game today really bugged me. But then you see all his positives and the things he can do, and you're like, oh my gosh, it has superstar written all over him if he can do it at a consistent rate. So he is a guy who I love, but I'm disappointed in what I saw. It's tough, man, but he's by far the most talented player in the draft, by far. Like he has a chance to be a star, like a star. The size, his weight, his strength, the dude can fly. I mean, he has all the attributes to be a great defender. Will he? Probably not. But if he can be a comparable defender, a good spot up shooter, and a nice secondary playmaker, he'd be a star. I mean, he'd be averaging 23 to 27 points a game. It's there for him, and he's super young still. A lot of people like Obi Toppin. I really like Onyeka Okongwu. I love LaMelo Ball. Love Denny Advia. I like Killian Hayes. So I'll be breaking down all these dudes, man. I like Tyrese Halliburton, Isaac Okoro. So we'll get into all those things. I'll bring on Coach AC to break down a few of these players as well. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Make sure to hit that like button. Leave a review on iTunes. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you on the next one.